Hey, Zane Griggs here. Happy New Year. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about ways to start losing weight in the new year. That's a typical resolution. And I just want to give you a little bit of knowledge, something to make a decision with. And I know a lot of you have heard me talk. I'm a big fan of the low carb diet. I want to explain to you why a low fat diet is not the way to go. Okay, so just so you maybe have a better understanding of why I view it as really not just not as good as a low carb diet, but actually detrimental and can actually lead to weight gain. So, typical low fat diet actually is a little higher in carb. You got to have your energy from somewhere. You're not going to eat 80% of your calories from protein, right? So your typical low fat diet is considered to be like 10% of your calories coming from fat or less. So, and if say 20, 25%, or even if you're more aggressive with the protein, 30% of your calories are coming from protein, then that leaves a good 60%, 65% of your calories coming from carbohydrates, okay? And I'm guessing most of us aren't eating 65% of our calories from vegetables, okay? That'd be tough to do. Especially if you want to lose weight, I can definitely tell you 65% of your calories are not coming from veggies, are they? No, let's be honest. Those carbs are kind of starchy, they're sugary. Okay, so the whole idea behind a low fat diet is that fat, okay, a gram of fat has like 9 calories, okay, and a gram of protein and then a gram of carb are each 4 calories. So there's less calories in carbs and protein than there is in fat. So by eating less fat, supposedly we're going to eat fewer calories, which of course is based on the idea that a calorie is a calorie and our body treats every calorie the same way. Let's think about that. So that means that our body treats 300 calories of broccoli the same as it treats 300 calories of chocolate cake. Seriously? I don't know why that makes sense to the nutritionists and the PhDs who put this stuff out there, but it just, I mean, we all know we feel differently when we eat, 300 calories of broccoli versus 300 calories of chocolate cake. Our bodies react differently. So what makes them, why would our bodies treat them the same when it comes to fat storage and energy? It just doesn't make sense. So the reason is we are not machines. We don't treat every fuel the same way, and we have hormones that that change the way we react to the energy we put in our bodies. And it's really you have to think. Well, the primary hormone. Okay, let's get right into it. The primary hormone is insulin. Okay, so I'm not going to get too sciencey on you, but you need to understand how your body works so you grasp this. Your primary hormone, which you've all heard of, is insulin that controls fat storage, okay, or fat burning. So when insulin is up, we don't burn fat. We're holding on to fat stores. When insulin comes back down, we're more likely to release fat. We're free to release fat. Okay, so carbs have the greatest impact. Sugary and starchy carbs have the greatest impact on insulin. So they create the biggest release of insulin. Protein has a small release of insulin. Fat, absolutely no release of insulin. So you could eat like a spoonful of butter, okay, and have no effect on insulin. And then now the biscuit, on the other hand, is what really sends your insulin through the roof. So so with that being said, when you eat that biscuit and insulin is released, okay, you've generally got too much starch or sugar. It breaks it down into sugar in your system, and you've got too much to burn at that one moment. Okay, so what happens? Insulin comes out and takes the starch from your bloodstream, the sugar from your bloodstream, and tries to deliver it to the muscles and the fat cells to get out of your bloodstream because too much is toxic for us. Now, of course, if we have too much energy flowing through our system, we're not going to release fat, are we? So when insulin is released, that means there's fuel in our system. Fat release stops. So you no longer are releasing fat for fuel, depending on how much is released. But generally, if you're eating something like bread, starch, pasta, sugar, you've got too much. Fat burning pretty much shuts down until insulin comes back down. Okay. Now, what can happen as we age is we become less and less tolerant of those carbohydrates, which means we develop what's called insulin resistance. Okay, so that is when our muscle cells don't react to the insulin like they did when we were in our 20s or as teenagers. Okay, so and if you're carrying a little more, more than 20 pounds of extra weight, chances are you've got a slight amount of insulin resistance, even if it may not even show up on a blood test right away. Okay, at this point, but you've got some insulin resistance if you're starting to store fat, because your muscle cells say, they stop reacting. So basically they don't receive the sugar coming from the insulin anymore. So it bypasses those muscle cells and sticks it in your fat cells. So you start storing more in the fat cells and less in the muscle cells. Okay? So let's think about what that does to us. Less fuel going to muscle cells, more going to fat cells. So less energy in the muscles for movement, more fat stored in fat cells. We gain weight, we become lethargic. Okay? So that is the pathway to fat storage. Now, think about what happens when insulin removes, because its job is to remove that fuel from your bloodstream. What happens after you eat, certainly about an hour after you eat carbs, energy level drops, right? Because it's removing all that fuel. It's removing that fuel from your bloodstream, trying to stick it in muscle cells, fat cells, and that's where we kind of get that little bit of a carb crash. If you had a lot of carbs, big pasta, lunch, and then energy level drops. Now the thing about insulin resistance, when the muscle cells are, saying, no, we don't want it anymore, what your body responds, your pancreas responds to that by releasing even more insulin to try to get them to respond. So you basically got more insulin going through your system than you would normally, which means if the insulin's there, that means your fat cells aren't releasing fuel for storage. Okay, so you got, with this insulin resistant cycle, again, you have less energy in the muscles, so you're lethargic. You have more fat going to fat cells, so you have more fat storage. Okay, no fat is being or less fat's being released because insulin is staying high all the time. So basically, you're storing fat and you're not releasing it like you were. And when you get that crash, okay, where your bloodstream's empty, you're tired, and of course your brain sees, okay, I'm tired. The fuel's gone, so it triggers hunger. So you're storing fat, you have less energy, you're tired, and you're hungry. Can you see the vicious cycle there that will lead this low-fat diet, which creates essentially insulin resistance over the course of our lives, to cause actually more weight gain because we're reacting to the higher carb diet in the 50 to 65% carb range, and this low fat in the 10% range, which has no bearing on insulin. So the one fuel that has no bearing on insulin and would allow fat storage is at the smallest amount. And the fuel that creates the greatest reaction to insulin is at the greatest amount. So this is why I say the low-fat diet is actually making us fatter. Okay? So, hey, if you've probably tried at least one type of diet, if not several types of diets in the past, I'm sure one of them was a low-fat diet, please comment below, what was your experience with your low-fat diet? Like, what did you have some success? Did you have some temporary success and then a bounce back? Did you get a yo-yo where you kind of lost some weight and then came right back up again? Let me know. Comment below. I'm sure everyone would like to see it and share from your experience. And if you know someone who would benefit from hearing this right now, hey, it's the time of year people want to lose weight. If you know someone who's struggling with that, you know what? Post their name in the comments or share. I'm sure they'd enjoy it. I would certainly appreciate it. And let everybody know this information, because it's just not out there. People are not being told this. They're being told just the opposite by our, the government authorities, the health authorities. They're pushing low fat, low fat, low fat. And what's happened over the last 50 years, we've been hearing that, we've been getting fatter. 60% of our country is obese or overweight. It wasn't like that 30 years ago, guys. We've been doing it through our habits, through the way we eat. And it's been coming down from the top. So, next time, watch next video. I'm going to talk about what we do next, which is the low-calorie diet. We go from low-fat to low-calorie, and it's just making it worse. So check it out next time. But until then, hey, post your friends below. Do I have a question here? So, I'm sorry, guys. My eyes are going. So, okay, you agree with me. Great. Yes, low-fat, no thanks. And thanks, Sophia. I know Sophia's a nutritionist, and she agrees with me. So it's nice to have a nutritionist out there. There are some that actually agree that this is not the way to go. So, hey guys, again, comment below with the diets you've tried and what your experience was, and I'll talk to you later.